Welcome back to the deep dive. We're doing something a little different today. Usually when we crack open a detective novel, we're expecting a whodunit.
Right.
We're looking for a smoking gun, maybe a fingerprint on a wine glass, or, the butler who looks a little too nervous.
A classic setup.
Exactly. But today we are stepping into the rain-slick streets of Robert B. Parker's Boston. We're opening a file that reads less like a mystery and more like a forensic audit of a human supply chain.
It's a stark way to frame it, but honestly, it's the only way to do justice to this source material. We're
Right.
analyzing Taming a Seahorse, which is one of the seminal entries in the Spenser files.
Hmm.
And you are right. On the surface, it's a story about a private eye looking for a missing girl. But if you scratch that surface, you don't find a simple puzzle. You find a rigid, terrifying economic structure.
So we're effectively going to map an industry today. We're tracking a human commodity from what you could call the manufacturing point in rural, poverty-stricken Maine.
Which is just devastating when you get there.
Oh, absolutely. And then we follow it through the distribution centers of mid-sized cities all the way to the retail floor of Times Square and eventually into the corporate boardroom.
And that is the brilliance of Parker's writing here. He takes the noir tropes we all know and love, the wisecracks, the fistfights, the femme fatales, and he uses them to disguise a sociological study.
That's a great way to put it.
He suggests that the exploitation of women isn't just some chaotic, street-level mess. It is organized. It is stratified. And, most uncomfortably, it is integrated into the legitimate economy, just like any other business.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is clear. We are following Spenser as he tries to locate a young woman named April Kyle. But we're going to look at the how and the why. How does a girl from the suburbs end up in a call ring? Why does a pimp study at Gilliard?
That detail just kills me every time.
And what happens when the lines between a street corner hustler and a bank president start to blur?
Yeah. We also have to talk about the methodology. Spenser isn't Sherlock Holmes. He doesn't solve cases by, finding different types of cigar ash or studying footprints.
No.
He is a disruptor. He solves cases by applying pressure to the system until the system breaks. He's a chaos agent in a very orderly, very corrupt world.
Let's start at the beginning then. The client. In your standard noir, the client is like a weeping parent, a jealous husband, or maybe a femme fatale with a big secret.
Right.
Here, the client is Patricia Utley. And she is not exactly a damsel in distress.
No, Patricia Utley is a powerhouse. She is a madam. But if you hold that image in your head, some, stereotype of a madam in a seedy back room, you need to drop it immediately.
Immediately.
Utley operates a high-end, extremely discreet prostitution service. The text establishes her as a peer to Spenser. They meet at a place called Bogey's in Manhattan.
And the details of that lunch, they set the tone for the entire relationship. They are drinking margaritas and eating veal.
Which Spenser notes is a surprising but acceptable combination.
Exactly. It's civilized. It's two professionals having a business lunch. They haven't seen each other in 10 years since the Red Sox last won the pennant, as Spenser puts it.
Which is such a classic Spenser line.
It is, but they fall right back into a rhythm. There's no awkwardness.
There's a mutual respect there. In Spenser's moral universe, Utley isn't a villain. She is a pragmatist. She runs a business. And by the standards of that business, she runs it well. She treats her employees well. She provides health checks, safety, good pay. She represents what we might call the corporate benignant side of the trade.
Okay, corporate benignant. I like that.
She calls Spenser because one of her former employees, this woman April Kyle, has gone rogue.
And gone rogue usually implies she stole money or, I don't know, hurt someone. But April just quit. She walked away. She left the safety of Utley's high-end operation to go work for a street pimp.
Right.
And this is the first big psychological hurdle the source material throws at us. Why? Why leave a job that has essentially benefits for a job where you might get beaten up?
And this is where Utley's insight is absolutely crucial. She has a theory. Spenser, being Spenser, he assumes it's about money. Maybe the pimp offered a better cut, something simple.
Hill commission structure, yeah.
But Utley corrects him. She says it's not about money. It's about love. Or, more accurately, the validation of being claimed.
That sounds completely paradoxical. How is working for a pimp validating? I don't get that.
Well, you have to look at April's profile. She is about 20 years old. She's kind of drifted into this life. Utley argues that even in the sex trade, the human need for romantic connection, for belonging, It doesn't just vanish.
Okay.
A pimp offers a twisted, toxic version of that connection. He says, you belong to me, you support me, we are a team. To a damaged psyche, that ownership can feel like affection. It can feel like having a purpose, a place in the world.
Wow. So it's not a business transaction for her, it's an emotional one.
Precisely. And Utley uses a specific term for these men. She calls them recruiters.
That term jumped out at me too. Recruiter. It's so
Democratic.
Yeah, it's so corporate.
Yeah. It de-romanticizes the pimp figure completely. Utley explains that these men often act like headhunters for the larger houses. If a brothel needs a blonde or a Latina or a specific type, these men go out, they find them, they seduce them, and they staff the position.
So the whole boyfriend experience is just an onboarding process.
It's an onboarding process. That's the perfect way to describe it.
So Spenser takes the job on spec. He's not getting paid unless he gets April back. He tracks her to a place called Tiger Lilies, which, frankly, sounds like a garden center.
It does, doesn't it?
But it's actually a step down from Utley's operation. It's a call house. He arranges a meeting with April at the brasserie.
And this scene is so vital because of the visual description. Spenser paints a portrait of April that is devastatingly specific. It is almost like a performance review.
She makes an entrance. She doesn't just walk in. She pauses on the stairs. She's wearing these pink coveralls with cropped pants, massive pink and aqua beads, and Elvis Costello sunglasses.
She is trying so hard. She is projecting what he calls high fashion thin. She wants to be seen as a sophisticated, worldly woman of New York. She's wearing a costume of what she thinks a successful woman looks like.
But underneath the Elvis Costello glasses, she's just a kid. She's naive. Spenser sits her down and basically punctures the balloon immediately.
Right away.
He asks about the boyfriend, Robert Rambeau, and April launches into this story about how he's a musician studying at Juilliard.
Which just sounds like an absurd lie, doesn't it? A pimp at Juilliard. It sounds like something a teenager would make up to impress her parents. Spenser is, understandably skeptical.
Of course.
So he pushes her. He asks, is he just living off you? He tries to force her to see the economic reality of her relationship.
And she does not take that well.
She explodes. The book says she calls him a fucking prick. She just storms out.
It's such a violent reaction to a very simple, direct question.
Because he attacked her survival mechanism? April needs to believe that her prostitution is a noble sacrifice for Robert's art. That's her story.
Ah.
If she admits Robert is just using her, she isn't a patron of the arts. She is just a victim. And that's unbearable. So she defends the lie. Because the lie is the only thing making the reality bearable.
So the lunch is a total bust. April flees. But the investigation pivots instantly because Spenser is followed out of the restaurant by the boyfriend himself.
Enter Robert Rambeau. And again, the visual description is everything. Spenser calls him monochromatic. Beige linen suit, off-white shirt, beige silk tie, tan shoes.
Beige. Spenser nicknames him Beige. It's such a dismissal. It's not just a color. It's an insult. It strips him of any danger. It turns him into a piece of bland furniture.
It's a psychological tactic right from the start.
Until Rambeau pulls a straight razor.
And that is a visceral shift. A razor isn't a gun. It's not clean or distant. It's intimate. It's for slashing. It implies a history of scarring people, of using fear up close.
It's a tool of terror.
It is. But watch how Spenser handles it. This is where we see the difference between a tough guy and a professional. Rambeau is posturing. He's acting out a scene from a movie he saw. Spenser doesn't panic. He doesn't even seem that worried. He just sweeps Rambeau's legs, drops him to the pavement, and stomps the razor out of his hand. It is efficient, brutal, and totally controlled.
He even gets a great line in. He tells him, "There goes your violin career."
It is total domination. It's physical, but it's also psychological. But then, this is the twist. Spenser digs into the background and finds out Rambeau actually is at Juilliard.
That blew my mind. I thought for sure it was a lie, just part of the story April was telling herself.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most unsettling details in the file. Rambeau isn't a desperate street thug with no other options. He is educated. He is talented. He has a legitimate future.
Which means his exploitation of April is a cold, calculated choice. It's not desperation.
Exactly. He is compartmentalizing his life, playing Mozart in the morning and managing streetwalkers at night.
That duality is key. He can separate the art from the sin. And to understand the night side of Rambeau, Spenser goes to Times Square. He spots Rambeau inspecting the troops, as he puts it.
And this is where we meet the foil to April Kyle, the person who shows us the other path. We meet Ginger Bucky.
Ginger is, she's like the ghost of Christmas future for April. She is described as Shop-worn. She works the street, not indoors. She has zero illusions about love or Gilliard. She knows exactly what she is. She is surviving.
That's the word, surviving.
Spenser picks her up, transactionally speaking, just to get intel on Rambo. But he doesn't just take her to a hotel. He buys her breakfast at Howie Johnson's, takes her to the zoo. It's such a strange, gentle sequence in the middle of all this sleaze.
It's Spenser showing his code. He's not judging her. He's trying to understand her. But he gets much more than intel. He gets her story.
He does.
And this is where the supply chain concept stops being a metaphor and becomes horrifically literal. Ginger reveals she is from Lindell, Maine. And she didn't run away from home. She was sold.
Sold. We aren't talking about, being pushed out of the house or leaving after a fight. We are talking about a cash transaction for a human being.
Correct. Her father, a man named Vern Buckey, abused her from the age of 12. And at 14, he sold her to a whorehouse in Portland, Maine.
Oh my God.
Vern Buckey is the manufacturer in this economic model. He produced a commodity and sold it to a distributor. Ginger is just inventory.
That revelation, it hits like a physical blow in the text. And when Spenser takes Ginger back to his hotel room, the facade cracks. She's trying to be tough, eating a cheeseburger, drinking a beer.
She tells Spenser, "I'm where I want to be." She's trying to own it.
But then she just starts sobbing, completely breaks down.
That scene is the emotional anchor of the entire story. It's where Spenser stops being the investigator and becomes the protector. He holds her. He doesn't lecture her. He doesn't try to save her soul. He just lets her be human for a night.
He gives her his card. He tells her to call him if she ever needs help. He sleeps in the chair. She sleeps on the bed. In the morning, he sends her off with some money, and it feels like a small victory, a moment of decency in an indecent world.
But in war, and in the economic reality of this trade, no good deed goes unpunished. Because this moment of kindness leads us directly into the next segment, the real investigation.
Segment 3, the supply chain investigation. Spenser heads back to Boston, thinking he has just done a good turn, maybe planted a seed of hope. But a few days later, his friend Frank Belson, a homicide cop, shows up at his apartment.
And the news is bad. Ginger Buckey's dead, murdered in New York, and Spenser's business card was in her purse.
The guilt from that must be immense. Spenser was the last person to show her any kindness, and now she's a statistic. He's drawn into it personally.
And when Spenser goes back to New York to check on things, he finds Rambo. And Rambo is beat up and terrified. He warns Spenser to back off. He is scared of something much bigger than a private eye.
So that confirms it for Spenser?
Yes. It confirms that the cases, April's disappearance and Ginger's murder, are linked. They are part of the same ecosystem.
So Spenser decides to do something radical. He doesn't just look for clues in New York. He decides to trace the supply chain back to the source. He goes to Maine.
Lindell, Maine, to find Vern Buckey.
And this trip to Maine, it serves a dual purpose, right? It's an investigation, yes. He wants to know who Vern sold Ginger to. But let's be honest, it is also punitive.
Oh, it's absolutely punitive. Spenser is angry. He knows what Vern did to his own daughter. This is about information, but it's also about justice. Or maybe just vengeance.
The description of Lindell sets the scene perfectly. It's rural, scrub forest, a cinder block store. It's desolate. You feel the poverty. And the locals are terrified of Vern Buckey.
The town clerk, this heavy-set woman smoking Camels, she warns Spenser. She says Vern is the toughest man in Lindell.
It's like a classic Western trope transposed to New England.
It is. The town is held hostage by a bully. Vern isn't a criminal mastermind. He is a brute. He rules through physical intimidation. He's the big fish in a very small, very stagnant pond.
Spenser finds him at a bowling alley, of course. You can almost smell the stale beer and floor wax. And the fight that follows, it feels different than the one with Rambo. It's not quick.
It is very different. With Rambo, Spenser was dismissive, almost contemptuous. With Vern, Spenser is dismantling him. He's taking him apart piece by piece. Vern thinks he can just brawl his way through.
He throws these wild haymakers.
But Spenser is a trained boxer. He's a professional. He dissects him physically. He dodges the punches, picks him apart with combinations. He makes it look like a science.
And it's public. He does it in front of the whole town.
It is a public execution of Vern's reputation. He humiliates Vern. He breaks the myth of the toughest man in Lindell. And the town loves it.
The locals actually start applauding when Vern goes down. That's how much they hated him, how much fear he inspired.
But the violence yields data. That's the key. A defeated, broken Vern reveals the next link in the chain. He didn't just sell Ginger to anyone. He sold her to a place called Magic Massage in Portland, Maine.
And he uses this horrible phrase. He calls it a finder's fee.
Again, with the business terminology. A finder's fee for his own child. It just makes your skin crawl.
So Spenser heads south to Portland, the next stop on the supply chain.
Magic massage. So we are moving up slightly in the world. From a rural shack to a city storefront. It's a front, obviously. Spenser walks in and meets the manager, a guy in a cowboy hat with brass knuckles.
Another tough guy stereotype. And I love how Spenser handles these guys. He doesn't even have to fight this one. He uses psychology. He points out the stupidity of his loadout.
It's a brilliant tactical critique.
Yeah.
Spenser points out that the guy is wearing brass knuckles on his right hand, but his gun is in a shoulder holster under his left arm.
Right.
So if he reaches for the gun, he has to cross his body, and the knuckles will snag on his jacket. Takes too long to draw. Spenser basically tells him, "You're an amateur. You're doing it wrong."
He dismantles his confidence without throwing a punch.
It creates hesitation. And Spenser uses that pause to apply psychological pressure. He threatens to expose the operation to the police and the press. He knows these guys rely on flying under the radar. The threat of exposure is more dangerous to them than a fist fight.
And the cowboy just folds. He gives up the information. He reveals that Ginger was passed along again like she's just a piece of inventory to a man named Art Floyd in Boston.
And you have to notice the trajectory here. We started in rural poverty with Vern Buckey. We moved to a seedy massage parlor in a mid-sized city. Now we're moving to the suburbs, to a condo in Salem. The product is being moved up market.
Art Floyd is a different breed entirely. Spenser finds him in this nice condo, listening to the Beatles. He is described as a sleazy Ivy League type.
Floyd represents middle management. He isn't a thug like Vern. He isn't a cowboy pimp. He's a recruiter, a talent scout who probably views himself as a legitimate businessman.
He probably has business cards.
He probably does, and he admits it. He says he plays Ginger at the Crown Prince Club.
And this brings us to the big leagues, the top of the food chain, segment 4, the corporate facade.
The Crown Prince Club.
Oh.
This is where the contrast becomes just starkest. We are no longer in a bowling alley or a massage parlor. We are in a high-end exclusive club in downtown Boston.
The decor is described as neo-colonial chic, which is just a perfect phrase. Doormen dressed like the king's African rifles. Pith helmets, red tunics, heavy oak paneling.
It is a fantasy of empire, of dominance. It is designed to make the members feel like kings or crown princes. It appeals to a very specific male fantasy of power and subservience. It tells the customer, you are the ruler here. The world belongs to you.
And at the top of this pyramid is Perry Lehman.
Perry Lehman is the antagonist who ties it all together. He's a porn mogul. He owns magazines, resorts, but he's trying to pivot. He wants to corner the market on lifestyle.
Spenser gets in by name-dropping a local mob figure, Tony Marcus, who he knows through his associate Hawk. But the person who really explains the philosophy isn't Lehman, not at first. It's Gretchen Coolidge. She is the marketing director.
Gretchen is fascinating and honestly terrifying. She has a Wharton MBA. She is a professional woman in a high-powered suit sitting in a beautiful office. And she uses corporate buzzwords to justify what is essentially a high-class brothel.
She talks about marketing fully realized lifestyle and selling the sizzle.
It is chilling how she sanitizes it. She isn't selling sex. She is selling self-image. She's selling an experience. She frames it in the language of Madison Avenue.
It's pure dissociation.
Exactly. It dissociates the act from the exploitation. To her, Ginger Buckey wasn't a victim. She was a staff member providing a service in a hospitality environment. This is the banality of evil in a boardroom.
So Spenser finally gets to meet the man himself. He meets Lehman in a rooftop atrium. It is humid, full of tropical plants. And Lehman is wearing a bathrobe, drinking champagne, guarded by a massive man named Brutus.
Lehman is the embodiment of arrogant excess. He drinks what he calls nectar of the gods. He treats women and men alike as objects to be used. He admits Ginger worked there, but claims she left. He is completely dismissive. He thinks he is untouchable because of his money and his connections.
Spenser pushes him, but doesn't get much. However, he does learn that Ginger was moved again, this time to a Crown Prince resort in the Caribbean.
The chain continues, from Maine to Portland to Boston, and now to St. Thomas.
Which takes us to segment 5, the Caribbean connection. Spenser needs to go to St. Thomas to follow this lead, and he takes Susan Silverman with him.
This is a really important shift in the narrative. Susan is Spenser's longtime partner and a psychologist. Having her there changes the whole dynamic of the investigation.
How so?
Well, it allows Spenser to bounce ideas off someone who understands the human psyche on a professional level. It's not just his gut instinct anymore. He has an expert sounding board.
Their relationship is really something. It's so full of witty banter, but it's also very intimate. They treat each other as absolute equals. Susan isn't just a damsel or a sidekick. She is his anchor.
And she provides crucial insight. While Spenser's looking at the facts and the chain of events, she is looking at the motivations. She helps him understand the pathology of men like Lehman and Rambeau, and the psychology of women like April and Ginger.
So they go to St. Thomas. Spenser infiltrates the Crown Prince Club there. It is just like the Boston one, but tropical, same fake elegance, same vibe. He meets a hostess named Suki.
And Suki is the source of the next big breakthrough. Spenser, he turns on the charm. They have this scene where she is feeding him grapes. He's playing the role of the submissive, exotic hostess that the club sells.
It's almost a parody of the Crown Prince fantasy. Spenser is just playing along to get the information he needs.
And it works. Suki reveals that Ginger came to the island with a banker type named Warren. This is the first time we hear that name.
Warren.
But, and here's the key, she ditched Warren. She ran off with a musician who was playing in the band at the resort.
Let me guess. Robert Rambeau.
Exactly. The Juilliard student pimp was doing a gig at the resort. Ginger, perhaps seeing a way out, or perhaps just falling for Rambeau's charm, left the wealthy, powerful Warren for him.
This connects all the dots. Ginger leaves the quote-unquote safe, high-end exploitation of the Crown Prince Club for the dangerous street-level exploitation of Rambeau. It's a tragic loop.
It's a lateral move at best, but in her mind, it might have felt like freedom. And it explains why Rambeau was so terrified back in New York.
Because he stole property.
He stole property from a very powerful man. He disrupted the supply chain. He humiliated a VIP client of Perry Lehman's organization.
So Spenser and Susan fly back to New York. Spenser goes to Rambeau's apartment to confront him with this new info, to find out who Warren is, but he is too late.
Rambeau is dead, decomposing in his apartment.
So now the stakes are sky high. We have a double homicide. Ginger and Rambeau are both dead. And the common denominator is the Crown Prince Club and this mysterious figure, Warren.
This leads to the next phase of Spenser's method, segment 6, applying pressure. Spenser knows he can't just ask Perry Lehman nicely. Lehman is protected by layers of security and, as we're about to discover, organized crime.
So Spenser starts a one-man harassment campaign. This is one of my favorite puns of the Spenser methodology. He doesn't investigate quietly. He makes noise. He becomes a problem.
A huge problem. He parks outside the club. He parks outside Lehman's mansion in the suburbs. He just sits there watching. And he plants signs, little signs that just say, "Who is Warren?"
It's brilliant psychological warfare. He's not making a direct threat. He's making Lehman paranoid. He's making him wonder what Spenser knows and who he's told.
And it works. Lehman starts to crack. He sends thugs to intimidate Spenser. First, just some low-level guys in an alley. Spenser brushes them off like they're nothing.
So Lehman escalates. The big guns come out. Lehman's owners, the mob connection behind the whole operation, send professional hitmen to deal with the Spenser problem.
This is the battle at the Charles River. And for this, Spenser brings backup. He brings Hawk.
We have to talk about Hawk. You can't talk about Spenser without talking about Hawk.
You can't. Hawk is the dark mirror to Spenser.
Yeah.
He's just as tough, just as competent, maybe even more dangerous, but he operates without the ethical constraints. His code is one of pure loyalty to Spenser, but he is a professional enforcer. Spenser navigates the law. Hawk ignores it.
They're two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. So Spenser and Hawk ambush the hitmen by the river. It is a total rout. But they don't kill them. They don't even beat them up that badly. They do something much stranger and much more effective.
The maroon incident. They take a can of Krylon spray paint and they spray paint the hitman's hair maroon.
Which is just, it's so bizarre.
It is. So why? Why not just beat them up? Or hand them to the cops?
Because humiliation is a more powerful message than pain. Pain heals. If you beat a hitman up, he comes back angry, maybe with friends. If you kill him, the mob sends 2 more.
But walking back to your mob boss with maroon hair
that says, "We played with you, you are a joke to us," it destroys their credibility. You can't be a terrifying enforcer if you look like a clown.
It tells the boss, Mr. Milo, your best men are our toys. We don't fear you.
Exactly. It strips away their fear factor completely. It sends a message of total dominance.
It is brilliant, and it sets up the final play, the checkmate. Segment 7. The endgame. Spenser knows he has to break Lehman completely now.
So they stage a fake hit. Spenser and Hawk take a shotgun loaded with birdshot, and they shoot up Lehman's empty limo. They make it look like a professional assassination attempt.
Then they visit Lehman and Gretchen Coolidge at the club. They're calm, cool, collected, and they spin a story.
They do. They tell Lehman that Mr. Milo, the mob boss who owns them, has decided that Lehman is a liability, that with Spenser sniffing around and asking about Warren, the risk is too high.
And so the story goes, Milo is cleaning house. He's killing anyone who knows about Warren to tie up the loose ends from the Ginger and Rambo murders. And the shot-up limo was the first attempt on Lehman's life.
It is the ultimate prisoner's dilemma. Spenser creates a situation where Lehman believes his own protectors are trying to kill him. And if that's the case, his only hope for survival is Spenser.
Lehman panics. He completely buys it. He's terrified. He calls Spenser later, screaming, begging for help. He's ready to give up everything.
And he does. He reveals the identity of Warren. He isn't just a John. He is Warren Whitfield, the president of DePaul Federal Bank.
A bank president. Not a gangster, not a pornographer, a pillar of the financial community.
This is the final shocking piece of the puzzle. The sex trade isn't just pimps on corners or porn moguls in bathrobes. It is intertwined with and serviced by legitimate finance.
So Ginger Bucky was service for a bank president. When she embarrassed him by leaving him for a pimp, it caused a scandal that had to be silenced.
Precisely. And consider the implication. A bank president has access to capital, to power, to influence. The Crown Prince Club uses women like Ginger to compromise, to entertain, or to bribe men like Whitfield. The lifestyle that Perry Lehman sells is funded by and protects the highest pillars of society.
It is a sobering thought. Spenser starts by looking for a runaway girl from a rich family and ends up staring at the rot inside a major financial institution.
And that is the brilliance of the story. Parker shows us that the underworld and the overworld aren't separate spheres. They feed each other. They're built on the same foundation of exploitation.
It leaves us with a really uncomfortable conclusion. Spenser saves April Kyle. He gets her back to Patricia Utley, back to the safe part of the business, but the system itself, the Lehmans, the Whitfields, that remains.
Spenser is a knight errant, but he isn't a revolutionary. He can save the individual, but he can't slay the dragon, because the dragon in this case is the economy itself.
That is the tragedy of the commodity. Ginger Bucky was used by everyone. Her father, the massage parlor, the club, the bank president, the pimp. Spenser was the only one who saw a human being.
Precisely. And that is why we read these files. Not for the puzzle, not for the whodunit, but for the witness. Spenser bears witness to the people the system grinds up and throws away.
So here's a final thought for you to chew on. The story ends with Spenser holding the name Warren Whitfield, a legitimate, powerful banker. We often think of crime as something that happens in dark alleys. But this story suggests that maybe we should be looking somewhere else. How much of it is happening in boardrooms, funded by the institutions we trust with our life savings?
It raises the question, who are the real pimps? The ones in the beige suits on the street corner or the ones in the pinstripe suits approving the loans in the corner office?
Something to think about next time you walk past a bank or see a glossy ad for a lifestyle brand. What is the supply chain behind the image? That's it for this deep dive into Taming a Seahorse. Thanks for listening.
Stay curious.